Welcome to Who Knew. We are fans of the current series of Doctor Who, and here we discuss our likes, dislikes, and insights into the modern regeneration of the show. Subscribe, review, and listen to us on iTunes and Stitcher, or our YouTube channel, youtube.com/WhoKnewPodcast. All our episodes are on whoknewpodcast.com. You can leave comments there, or email us at whoknewpodcast@gmail.com. We also have an Instagram and Twitter account. Tweet at us at whoknewpodcast, and find us on Facebook. Today's episode is episode 5 of season 8, Time Heist. The Doctor does something that has never been done before. It's a caper. It's a heist. He's going to rob a bank. This episode is written by Stephen Thompson and Stephen Moffat. It is directed by Douglas McKinnon. It originally aired on the 20th of September 2014 and was originally watched by 4.93 million viewers. Hi, this is Eugene. Let's introduce ourselves.
Hi, this is Frank.
Hello, this is Kelsey.
Hey, Josh here.
Hey, this is Brian.
Howdy, this is Auburn.
The Doctor is trying to convince Clara to join him on a fun day, but she is getting ready for her second date with Danny Pink. The TARDIS phone rings. When the Doctor answers, they are suddenly in a dark room with memory worms in hand. They both drop them, but it's too late. They don't know where they are or how they got there. At the table are 2 other people in the same condition. They hear recordings of their voices saying they agreed to the memory wipe of their own free will. They receive a video briefing from the architect who tells them that they are in the Bank of Karabraxos, the most secure facility in the universe. They are not authorized to be on the planet, and a team has come to terminate them. Lastly, the architect orders them to rob the bank. They run down a hallway when the Doctor decides that he wants some answers. Sai is an augmented human cyborg who has been caught robbing banks, so he deleted all memories of his family and friends. Sabra is a mutant human who can duplicate the appearance of anyone she touches, meaning that no one can ever touch her. A little later, they enter the lobby with Sabra impersonating a bank customer. An alert goes off, shutting the bank down. Miss Delphox, head of bank security, tells a bystander that his guilt has been detected by a large, chained alien who is known as the Teller. The Teller executes the man's punishment, and his brain is turned to soup. I think this is one of the first times that we have the opening vortex besides the opening sequence. Like, it's used as he transitions to the dryer or the washing machine.
Yeah, I didn't remember that at all.
Then now you have the memory worm.
I thought it was a really good introduction. It got off kind of at a running start trying to figure out what's going on. But I didn't quite get this Doctor's take on being oblivious. And what's the other one where he doesn't care? Never mind. It was just, he doesn't get what Clara's doing or doesn't care what Clara's doing. It's like, he knows she's going out on a date. He knows what's going on. He can see it. He's making fun of it. But it just seems so dismissive of, I don't care if you have a life. Now come with me because I'm bored.
I think by the end, though, we're supposed to take it a very different way, if you know what I mean.
Yes. But and then at the end, it's jealousy. And it's like, that's not right for the Doctor either.
Yeah, the jealousy part is weird.
So they're still trying to figure out this Doctor. It's still early episodes.
But it's long enough.
Yeah, it's episode 5. It's weird.
You know how they write these things where this could have been in the first block of episodes they ever filmed.
Yeah, which again, going to Russell's era, he kind of had it blocked out in his mind of how the season would go, and only a couple episodes shuffled because of circumstances, where I feel like they're just playing fast and loose with the order. It should be 1 or 2 episodes, and then maybe a special, and then 1 or 2 episodes, and then you cement who your Doctor is. I don't need 5 episodes in our regular season.
The stuff he said was very funny.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think he's sacrificing his comedy writing or his humorous writing for character with the Doctor, the consistency.
I mean, sacrificing character for the comedy.
Yes, sacrificing yeah.
Let's
go backwards and do that.
Moffat's primarily a comedy writer, and like just wanting to infuse interesting and witty things into really weird stories. And I think that's more of his agenda, and kind of let the rest of it figure itself out along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Even with all his other shows.
Oh yeah, that's why I'm drawing those conclusions because of those other examples.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a super nitpicky thing, but Psi, it's spelled PSI, as in like psychology or psionic superpowers. Mm-hmm. But he's a cyborg, not a.
Which would be CY.
So I'm like, again, that's not accurate.
It's not like a Britishism.
I don't think so. They spell cyborg PSIBORG.
Yeah, but he didn't get his name because he was a cyborg. He had I'm sure he had his name from birth.
Well, he had his memory erased to protect. We'll later learn is to protect the people he loves. So maybe he changed it.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Do you know what the budget was for like the sets and things in this episode? Because it felt like the sets were on location, like in a building, and reused a lot, but I don't think it was done badly. Like, I really liked it, but it definitely felt like they were forced to get the most they could out of some like cheap locations. But I mean, even like that beginning you said with the laundry and the rotating Doctor Who head, and then he like looked through the aquarium. It was all very low budget stuff, but that made it feel bigger.
Yes.
On the cheap.
But to go back to your question about budget, I don't have anything on that, like a number wise, money wise, but they did shoot on locations.
Except for that hallway that they used, that one T hallway that I'm sure was every shot.
Yeah.
Change the lighting, change the camera.
Yep, just change the lighting and you're in a different location.
We were just talking about the one hallway used 1,000 times in this episode.
Yeah, but some of the hallways were blue, some of the hallways were red.
That's right.
Yeah,
and some of them were in Mexico when they got into the vault.
That's right.
Yeah. But it's fine. I love stuff like that because it just shows you the power of filmmaking and changing a camera angle, and also too how easily it can be wrong. Like if someone's looking that way, just past camera instead of that way, then you're watching a show and you're like, wait, who are they talking to? And then it's I find it fascinating.
Like even when they woke up around the table, they had like those great windows behind them with like one key light of color coming through. Everything has like a very kind of pop noir sort of feel that I like. I think it's really cool. And I was just wondering if they were overcoming like budgetary obstacles, forced to kind of do better with what they had, or if that was like part of the vision before it even.
I honestly think they were overcoming script issues. I was like, oh well, we'll make the direction seem dynamic.
Play more with light, just what you were saying, Auburn, about set. Like, play more with light since we have less with set, and like what you were saying, Brian, the fact that like let's really highly stylize this to cover up a very simple story.
Well, because I think they spent a lot of money on the practical effects because they were really good as far as like the teller and the memory worms. They were all practicals.
Yeah, even the brain mush stuff like looked obviously like a special effect. It didn't look wrong. It didn't look bad. They did it really well. Even Psy with the stuff on the side of his head, just cheesy and all, but like they made it work. Everything. I would say the worst effect, which wasn't bad, was when what was the other woman's name?
Sabra.
When Sabra morphed. It was just your basic morph.
Oh, I'll point out mine that I don't like. It's at the very end though.
But her face at the beginning, that was changing the Clara side. It was like, it was so quick. It was great. You didn't know what was going on, why it looked that way. But you'd have to go back and pause to see it. But when you're just watching it, it was like, that was creepy and that was done really well.
Yeah, but also too, that wasn't morphing from one human face to another. That was like altering her face. So that looked better. Whereas just going, just the things morphing at certain speeds. I mean, it was done well, but it was, Michael Jackson black and white video.
Yeah.
I really feel sad for the student. You're an extra on a set. Oh, look, everybody, I'm going to be on Doctor Who. And they blur you out, and you can't really see the face. Where Clara and Danny both said, out!
Yeah.
It's like, that poor guy had one shot just to be on Doctor Who and can't even see his face. I felt sorry for him.
Maybe it was child labor laws. You can't be in focus before 4 p.m. or after 4 p.m.
Or they get a fine. Get a meal penalty.
I like how the architect had an American accent.
Yeah, I thought that voice was pretty good.
I didn't notice that.
And
with the voice changer, it's hard. Was that Capaldi's voice as the architect that was really changed, or did they have another person?
There was nothing in the
Yeah,
there was nothing in the credits to credit that or in the behind the scenes.
okay.
I mean, this is one of those things where I wish there was a commentary, because then the director could talk about those budgetary things that you were talking about, Allburn, and then the voice like this. But nope.
I like the what's going on I like the what's going on factor of what was going on.
Yeah.
You know, it was stuff that was a little forced, you know, with what's happening, but the whole thing with the memory wipe, and I really like how they listen to the recording of themselves telling them that I did this on purpose. You know, it was just a lot of, I guess, what you'd call off-screen motivation for things. To like, well, everything that is really driving what's happening is off screen. It's not happening in the moment, and it really makes you think. And when you're really questioning and thinking about what was going on off screen, it engages you with what's on screen. So you feel a part of it.
I did enjoy that, where most of the time if I'm asking questions, I'm annoyed. But this one, I agree with you, Josh, that it kept me engaged, especially the recording. When you hear the doctor, I didn't recognize him at first. But then when you hear Clara, she makes like a funny comment, do I really have to touch the memory worm or something like that? Where they're doing this and they're not being forced to do this. And I was like, okay, I'm interested.
That's a good point.
And the last time we saw the memory worm was the Christmas special, The Snowman?
Yes.
Oh, when was it? Yeah, it seemed familiar.
I thought I had some knowledge. Yeah, I thought I had some knowledge of what that was. But
remember when Strax kept touching it without the gauntlet gloves?
Oh, yes. That I do remember.
Yeah, I appreciated when they wake up and they hear themselves, saying that they're willing to touch they're willing to have their memories wiped. I like that because it also gave us exposition of who these other two people were, and that one was a cyborg and one was a mutant human. So I think that I appreciate that exposition being told to me very quickly, and not in a, who are you? Oh, I'm so-and-so. And
I think those were practical effects on Sabra's cheeks when they kind of bubbled. They just put a prosthetic and blew air through it. I think that's what happened. It looked pretty good.
Oh, interesting. They just morphed into that.
Or they could have just used CG, I don't know, but it feels like this crew was doing more practicals than most episodes.
Well, the creature looked really good.
Yeah.
We haven't got there yet.
Soon. I want to talk about it too. All right.
Before we go on, because I think we talked about this soup, and we read about the soup.
Yeah, we did.
So I thought, I agree with you guys. Like the opening, like the not knowing this is going to be fun. The whole idea of it being a heist. It had that thrilling fun, like a James Bond type of thing, not a scary thrilling. Mm-hmm. Even all down to when they come into the bank and they're all walking slow. It's like, that's such a trope. And it's like, okay, this is going to be silly and fun. I was expecting that. And it just got very serious. So to me, the balance of the tone didn't work as well in this episode. It wasn't as bad as some of the others, but having a guy feeling guilty about something where they say, it doesn't matter what you feel guilty about, we're still going to just, suck your brain. And that just seems so evil. She was just pure evil.
Yeah, that was a lot for a kid's show. His cranium being caved in.
Very, very Catholic.
Also, I did like that they explained why the lock was so difficult is because the atoms kept scrambling, so you couldn't do anything with the lock for most people. And I thought that was a really interesting way to deadlock something, in that to change. The atoms are constantly changing rather than a code. Mm-hmm. It's just like, I like that idea. I thought that was really fun.
So was the idea that that fella didn't have any ill intent towards the bank? He just felt guilty about something in his life? Because I took it as he was sort of plotting something, maybe to do something at some point.
Well, it's not told to us what he was really feeling guilty about, so I think that's what Frank's bringing up. It's not clear.
Right. Because she said she didn't care.
Yeah, like he could have been cheating on his significant other and feeling guilty about it, but that doesn't mean he wants to rob the bank.
Their whole pitch was murdering bad customers, like the pitch reel that they watched about the bank. So I think they just have to kill a random customer every day anyways, just to keep the rest feeling like they're
put them on display,
getting their money's worth. Yeah,
I think that was done to show the stakes, that they were going in to rob this place that is super secure.
Yeah.
But I'm like, could you have done it in a different way? Like, not so... It's a kid show. Not so gruesome, I guess.
Yeah.
I do like how visceral it is. You know, how everyone has guilt and you can't not, you know, what was, I think Sai said, like, have you ever tried not to think of something? That sort of thing.
Just like, don't look down if you're up high. You're going to look down.
And then the, you know, the whole conundrum or whatever you want to call it of, if you have guilt about something, you will kill you. So in order to not have guilt about something, don't do anything you wouldn't feel guilty about. Like, again, like I was saying earlier, like it's kind of the perfect way to start a cult or a religion is to just keep people in line about like, well, if you don't do anything that you need to feel guilty about, then, you know, you'll go to heaven.
But every time that's in a movie, it's like, well, I have nothing to worry about when some government's taking over or some entity is taking over. It's like, that's never a good sign to be so absolute. And so that's what this is like. It's like, you're going to fall soon because you're just too much.
Yeah. You know, you can get into the whole thing too, that there's no way a whole society would put up with this, and this wouldn't be whatever. It's just a fun, like, it's just whether it's just happening inside the bank or not.
And if it's so hard to get into the bank, how did they get into the bank in the beginning? They woke up in the bank.
Yeah, that's one of the holes.
No, that's the architect planning.
But so they escaped.
He wouldn't need, or she, well, everybody knows, he wouldn't need to wipe their memory until they're there and committed.
So then they left the bank and then came back. I guess that makes sense. Like, where's that room that they wake up in? Is it in one of the bank vaults? Or is that a break room?
A supply closet?
Is that initial room in the bank? I don't recall.
Well, that's where the security is knocking, so I would assume so.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right.
But then the architect could get them in there.
Yeah.
Can get them wherever that is. It's on the outside of the outskirts of the bank.
If they had the teleporters to teleport them out, then they had teleporters to teleport them in.
But then they had the bank entrance where they walked in.
Yeah.
In disguise. So
in
this
slow-mo.
Yeah, in slow-mo. So they had to first get to like the supply closet, get the plan, get in trouble, but then the plan was to go outside and come back in as customers, which I'll buy it.
Yeah, sure. I have other things to worry about besides that.
Yeah, there's some bigger holes, but I still think it's fun, and I like that they embrace the fun.
Yes, absolutely. The fun is paramount in this one.
The group enters a secure room where the man uses a breathalyzer to open a case containing a bomb, and then he shapeshifts back into Sabra. They use the bomb to gently blow a hole in the floor. They jump down and soon find another case. There are several objects that no one can identify, but the doctor is lying. An alarm goes off and they run. They find themselves in the teller's room where he is kept in a glass cage. They try to escape, but the teller locks onto Sabra. There is no way to free her. Sabra confirms with the doctor that the mystery objects are suicide devices. Using one, Sabra disintegrates. Near the vault door, they find another one of the architect's cases. It contains downloadable information on opening the vault. As Sai works, they hear the teller approaching. They split up after the doctor gives Sai a suicide device. The teller locks onto Clara, but is lured away by the bigger, guiltier target of Sai. As the attack begins, Sai disintegrates himself. The doctor and Clara discover that the vault has failed to open. At that moment, a solar storm begins interfering with the bank systems. Clever architect. And the doctor realizes that this is a time travel heist. The architect is from the future and knows when the storm would hit. At that moment, the vault unlocks.
So there are two things here that I like about what Sai is doing. We get to some references on screen of other sort of monsters, baddies, characters that we've seen before. There's the Sensorite from the 1964 cereal, the Sensorites, a Terrapital from The Visitation, a Slitheen, an Ice Warrior, the Gunslinger from a town called Mercy, Captain John Hart from Torchwood, Androvax and the Trickster from the Sarah Jane Adventures, and I think this is a first, Absalom Doc from the Doctor Who magazine. That's a comic book. So I don't think we've had any comic book people, things, or stories kind of cross over like this. So it's kind of cool that they're folding in everything into this one scene.
What were those things that you just referenced? Where did they?
So when the teller is going after Clara, Sai gives the teller something more guilty to focus on. So he looks at all those wanted people, and so he's like, all this guilt, come after me. So that's one thing I like. The other thing that I like is that the music that is being played there is a good man ? Which is the 12th Doctor's theme. And we've heard it before. It's been teased like in other episodes, and then it was teased when Sabra uses the device. And then now we get it in its full like orchestral climax sort of. And that's the part that I like of this theme.
When Sai was looking at all those people, I got the impression that he was like almost like downloading their consciousness or something.
Yeah.
Too, because very good.
Yeah, to get the guilt of what they've done.
Right.
When we first see the teller and he kills the other customer, the Doctor is kind of like dismissive of other people's deaths, and that's been something that I think has happened a few times with this Doctor.
Oh yeah.
And so that continues here, but now with Sabra and Sai, like in this particular case, like that turns around. But again, even like before, when Clara wanted them to help the first customer that was dying, the Doctor was like, oh, he's already dead. Like it's very quick to be like, well, we can't help this person, they're already gone.
Yeah, it's consistent.
That also bugged me because he did not know this creature. He goes, I don't like not knowing. But all of a sudden, you know exactly what the creature's doing. It's not just draining his memories. He's going to turn it to soup. How do you know all that if you don't know what kind of creature this is?
That's a really good point. I didn't think of that.
But for me, I see it as the Doctor in this episode is to a harsh extent very practical. So he's not going to do anything that's going to waste their time or expose them. So when he sees this thing happening, there's nothing they can do without exposing themselves, which would ruin the entire thing. So I think it is kind of, yes, he is kind of like sacrificing the guy, but it's more along the lines of no matter what happens, whether he dies or doesn't die, we can't interfere. And if we try to do anything, the same thing will happen to us and the heist won't go off and he wants to figure out what's going on.
That's the part of not knowing that he hates.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's weird how it is consistent with the Doctor's character to say, I hate not knowing. But like you said, inconsistent with he knows. So why say
Right.
that? It's just their sacrifice. The fun is what they want. So they need the Doctor to be able to tell us why that's dangerous. It's weird.
Although you could nerd think it into, well, he recognizes what he's doing, that those are psychic waves, and considering what they just said about guilt, this must be what's happening. I've heard of that. Like, who knows?
But they didn't.
Yeah, but they didn't.
Yeah.
I did like the bomb in that it shifted things to a different plane, and then he was able to reassemble it. It's like, why haven't they used this before? And then I thought they did. It's a square gun.
Squareness gun.
Yeah, because it makes a hole and then you can fill it in again. So it's kind of could have been like it.
Yeah, then that'll pay off later.
Right. I just thought the bomb was great. It's like, why don't we see more of it?
And that was a really great, like the setup to the bomb was what made the bomb great, right? It's like everybody preparing for this huge thing.
Right.
And then the punchline is, there was this little bitty hole that, yeah.
And that effect looked great too. It looked a little video toastery when it got healed back up. But who cares?
One of the fun effects in that elevator scene, and then again later when Sai is looking at all of the criminals, is his little USB projector. I don't know if you guys like. It's the cheapest USB dongle. Like I think my $5 Staples mouse has like a similar and a little blue LED with some CGI of filling in the screen on the wall. Like I thought it looked well, but it also gave it that kind of low budget, like we just pulled this out of the trash behind the BBC and are now making it into our effects. But I liked it. I like the DIY kind of mix and match.
Yeah.
They've reached the
This
point.
also makes you. Oh, go ahead, Brian.
They've reached the point in there's a point in time where they finally made everything universal.
Yeah.
Everything has the same plug, regardless of what it is and what technology it is.
Let's just go back to USB.
Or who manufactured it and what year they manufactured it.
But that makes sense because apparently it only costs $5.
Mm-hmm.
So it's cheap. Everybody can afford it.
I did laugh a lot at the sign when they're coming out of the Jeffries tubes, is what we call them.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
No entry under any circumstances. It just made me laugh.
Well, what's funny is about that, like, then they go in there and then they have their whole confrontation, which I guess we haven't talked about, with the creature. And then when they were coming out of one of those Jeffries tubes and the sign was still there, I'm like, oh yeah, don't go in there under it. Exactly what I thought. Well, yeah, nobody should be going in there. There's no reason anyone should be going in there.
There should have been a moment where, like, that's why that sign's there.
That's why that sign's there.
Or there's a guard like, don't make me tap the sign.
Right. Exactly.
I thought it should be, we saw Star Trek, do not go into Jeffries tubes. Anyway.
Yeah, that's such a trope, but this is the worst bank ever. And the first not the first signal, but one of the big signals is stop having air shafts large enough to walk through. It's air. We don't even have those today. They're just tiny little grills, but there's always these gigantic things that are so easily to take off. And that's what you want in the most secure bank. Yeah, that's what you want in a secure bank.
Well, you could also think about the fact that their form of security is mostly a threat. So they don't have to have that much of a physical presence because the mere threat of you possibly being one of the victims keeps everyone in line.
Yes. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Their biggest security.
I wonder how long they had the prisoner, the teller there. So I don't think it was very long. It seems like they used other things for this bank before this. And just it seems to me that it wasn't there for a long time. Well,
I got the impression it was for a long time, and they just sort of used cartoon logic as far as how long. Like, well, if they have someone tied up long enough in a suit where they obviously can't even go to the bathroom, like, where's the logic in that? But whatever, it's cartoon logic.
Right.
Yeah, that's not clear in the episode, so it could be either.
The time is around the solar flares or the solar storm, and that everything would be fine, but that was the time to start this break-in, because then the solar flares will help break in and affect some of the things that they can't change.
Right. That was the only way to completely
finalize it.
That's not the MacGuffin. The
inciting.
Whatever. What's that?
Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah, is that what they? Well,
sure.
The actual goal of the plot.
The objective.
The actual hidden objective.
Clara had also found a note in the last box, a note containing safety deposit box numbers. In one, they find a device capable of restoring lost data, which would have helped Psi, and a gene suppressor that would have helped Sabra. Listed last is a private vault, but before they can search, they are captured. Miss Delphox orders them to be disposed of. The two guards push them against the wall, but then reveal that they are Sabra and Psi. The suicide devices actually teleported them to a ship in orbit. The Doctor gives them their rewards, and they go in search of his. They find a private vault, and inside they discover Doctor Karabraxos, who looks exactly like Miss Delphox. Clones are the only people she can really trust. She calls Miss Delphox and orders the teller to be brought to the vault. She then fires Mrs. Delphox, and the Doctor knows that this is literal. He tells everyone to shut it up and eventually concludes that he hates the architect. He gives the TARDIS phone number to the director, saying she'll need it someday. So the Ninth Doctor encountered an atomic disintegrator, which actually was a teleporter in Bad Wolf, when like that android was killing people, brought them to a different area. So this is something that the Doctor has encountered previously. Thought that was really nice.
Satellite 5, right?
I think so, yeah. And then the use of clones being the only one you can trust. I'm like,
Yeah, I like that.
I like that a lot.
Another example of how bad this bank is, you finally break into the vault and it's tons of safety deposit boxes unlocked. Why would you need to lock that?
Well, but maybe that's how Britain is, just like they don't have guns, for the police.
No, the thing is, there's a keyhole. That was the thing that got me. It's like, well, maybe it's just a storage unit that no one's going to get in here.
It's a fingernail hole where you just you kind of open the door.
Oh, maybe they were all unlocked because of the solar flares. So usually there is more security in there, but there was like...
Let's say it's that. Let's say.
Okay, we'll go with it.
So
I am so glad that Sai and Sabra were not dead. I was it got me going, these are great characters. They're well-rounded in such a short period of time that I really wish come on, no. And then they came back and I remember going, yay, but then also being very confused about what just happened. Because I believe the doctor when he says they're going to kill you.
Yeah. And I was waiting for this episode in the season because this is where I feel like it's done well, where the doctor is kind of cold that they are using these devices to kill themselves, but then it pays off later with Into the Dalek, and where he's just cold about people dying. Journey Blue in
right.
That one, the soldiers and Into the Dalek, and then Journey Blue's brother. Like there was no real payoff for those, where this one there was, and so I waited till we came up to this episode, and here's an example of what I like about the Doctor sort of being cold, because there's a purpose to it. They are doing this to achieve their goal.
Yeah, I totally agree.
The example of them not really dying to fulfill the objective is what I like about him being cold, because he knows that they need to be away from the vault in order for them to come back and help him. Where in the other ones, it just felt these people are just dead. That's it.
Because they were. Yeah. I mean, this was this was the architect's plan, which was great, and that the Doctor at this time doesn't realize it. Continues with what he did before, and how he treats people and treats death, and how to protect the group. So
it's just the characteristic of the Doctor that I like, that he values life no matter what it is. Like an ordinary life, a regular human being is the most extraordinary thing in this world. That's something that I really enjoyed and gravitated towards in Russell's run. So then to have that sort of removed at the beginning of Capaldi as the Doctor, it felt like that's not why I like the Doctor. And so that's why this one is more palatable for me, because of the end result.
Yeah. I also like that they got the reward.
Yes, I do like that. Like it reminded me of like Everyone Lives, like everybody gets one.
And that they continued on with the mission.
Yeah, they didn't just leave. Right. I really enjoyed that. Oh, I also like the line that he gives Sai with the neophyte circuit to get all his memories back. All of your yesterdays. That felt very Doctor.
Yes.
And Star Trek, it's the name of an episode.
Yeah, it is.
So, do you think that the ship that Sai and Sabra were transported to is the TARDIS?
No,
the TARDIS was on it.
Yeah, he mentioned there's a big blue box.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Is that yours?
Oh, that's too bad.
Well, again, you have to go for the fun. We're on a ride. We're on a heist. The details are not that important, but we're on a podcast, so they're important now.
And to me, the details are important, and that's what's bugging me about some of this, especially when you do a heist, and then it's like, oh, now you can see all the things that were set up to start the domino effect and make this work. Went way too quick at the end, going, yeah, well, here they are. Rather than being interwoven into the story.
Like I don't know how this would have been if it was 2 episodes, because usually in a heist movie they show you how it goes wrong. Like I was expecting that, but I'm like, no, we're already too far into the episode. They're just gonna be able to succeed, because there's always that thing where, like Ocean's 11 or any other heist movies, there's something that goes wrong where then they have to kind of reshift. Oh, go ahead, Albert.
Oh, well, it didn't break the plan, but from the Doctor's point of view, Sabra and Sai dying was the going wrong.
Yeah.
But it didn't break the plan, like
Yeah, but then I think that was part of the plan.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the part where I'm like, oh, this could have been 2 episodes if there was a wrench thrown into the gears, so to speak.
Yeah, I don't know if that was part of the plan. It was But
well, it had to be part of the plan because the person who set up the plan to begin with already lived through it.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, this is all a predestination paradox.
So,
which does
it's a
work.
Bill and Ted.
Yeah, which does work because the guy architecting the plan knows what to do because she's already lived through it.
Yeah.
I think the thing that this episode suffers from a little bit is some of the strange things that happen or confusing things that happen go by really quickly, like we said, and still aren't very clear. So you're sort of left trying to figure out, wait, what are they talking about? And then you're onto something else, but you never really sussed out what they're even talking about, even just on the factual basis of what just happened. So when things are revealed, it makes sense, but you can't connect the dots very quickly because you weren't even sure what happened. But when I watched it yesterday, I didn't really recall what happened. Probably touched a memory worm. So
I got it, Josh.
Yeah, thank you. So I was kind of left constantly trying to follow what was happening more than just enjoying the entertainment.
Yeah, and I think that would have helped me if it was 2 episodes, so they could focus on those little details to get us through some of these questions that we're asking. Like, let's develop some of these things, or well, maybe we get to know how Sai and Sabra were recruited. That's something that could have been delved into deeper in the 2nd episode or something.
I agree with you, but at the same time, just alone what you said, I don't think there's enough story there to stretch into 2 episodes.
I get it. I'm just saying, what if? I'm not saying this would have been better if it was 2.
It suffers a little bit from it was a little too short, but it's not enough to be 2 full episodes. Yeah. So what do you do with it? Yeah. I enjoyed this episode. I'm just I didn't have that real epiphany at the end, like, oh, that's so cool, because I was like, that's so cool if I knew what they were talking about. And then I started to put the pieces together minutes after they started talking about it. So
I did like the doctor figuring out the identity, of the architect.
Yeah.
Because about her not trusting or liking her clones, disappointed in her clones. Wanting, it's like, maybe I should sue because they're not her, because they're just fake copies, and there's that disdain. And then the doctor, figuring out that he hates the architect. And that's when I figured out, oh my gosh. And it came back because in past seasons, you see that the doctor has a self-loathing. And even when the dream doctor, the doctor is saying, there's only one person I know who hates me as much as you do. So there's just that aspect of it that's still just there, and that's been used to go, that's who it is. Okay.
That was good.
It's also around this time that this has one of the worst script problems, plot holes, whatever you want to call it, and it just infuriates me. And that they've been captured. They're in her office. The teller is there. She's, saying, well, I'm going to kill you. And she even says, are you ready for your close-up? Meaning, we're going to put you on display. And okay, so you 2 guards that we know nothing about, you kill them, and I'm going to take the teller who's been killing everybody else this entire episode and walk away, so that you can conveniently set up the fact that, no, the 2 guards are the good guys. But, guards haven't done squat this entire episode. Again, what a great bank.
Because other than the psychic power of the teller, there's nothing menacing about him. Because his arms are tied. There's no way that he can usher them into somewhere or like restrain them to bring prisoners to some sort of holding cell. It's weird.
Yeah.
But while you were talking about those 2 guards, I kept thinking to myself, what if everybody that is employed besides the teller is a clone of Delphox or Karabraxos?
Yeah.
So that would have been a quick way to she trusts all the guards because they're her. And so that is why she leaves. But then they're not. So I don't know. Anyway, that's just something I thought of.
Yeah.
My justification was that the teller death is only for the highest profile customers, because they will be the ones that the other customers will know, like, oh, that was that guy. I went to some moon with him, last holiday, and now he's got his picture up at the bank cashing bad checks. Like, yeah.
The storm is getting worse, and the doctor tells Karabraxos to go. She collects some treasures and enters the back elevator. The doctor says, "Call me sometime." She replies that he'll be dead. And he comes back with, "And you'll be old and full of regret for things you can't change." The elevator closes. He tells the others that in order to know what's really going on, he needs his memory back. And the only way that can happen is soup. The teller enters and locks onto the doctor, who yells, "Show me why I'm here." And he is back in Clara's apartment answering the phone. It's Madame Karabraxos. She believes he can help her with her biggest regret. He tells Clara that they need to rob a bank. He recruits Team Not Dead, sets up cases around the bank, and records himself as the architect. Back in the vault, the doctor tells the teller that he is free now and that Karabraxos is gone, and he can do what he has always wanted to do. The teller unlocks a nearby vault, revealing another of his species, a female. This wasn't a bank heist. It was a rescue mission for a whole species. The doctor takes the two to a safe planet. He returns Sai and Sabra, then gets Clara home in time for her date.
Aww.
And see, this is what I like about the doctor. He's got this motive to help life flourish.
Mhm.
Not only does he get the, I guess they're just called the tellers, the teller race to...
They're Tellerites.
So they get them to continue, or he gets them to continue, but he also gets Clara back in time for her date.
Right.
This is why I waited this long. It's like, this is where it kind of kicked in for me that this is the doctor.
Mm.
Oh, and I like how he goes, or Clara says, I've already eaten. I've had a meal. I have to go eat another meal. And he's like, calories don't count on the TARDIS. And then she's like, really? No.
So the solar storm destroys the planet, right? Or it like burns the bank?
Yeah, some
Well,
bank.
So was her regret that she left the people chained up as the last of them and they died?
Oh, the
teller?
It's unclear. It's a little unclear.
I think her regret was her guilt. She was feeling she's old and dying. She feels guilty that she kept those two captive and basically tortured them for their whole lives and wiped out that species. So she distracted him from possibly saving a whole planet from destruction to save these.
And the reason I don't think it was their whole lives and why I thought it was a short period was if she really felt that guilty and wanted redemption, she would have done it near the time when she took them. You wouldn't to try and justify that and save it. It's like, you're a time traveler. I need you to save this. And for it to go on for 20 years, it's like, yeah, that's not really redemption, lady.
Well, it depends on what kind of time travel we're talking about here, whether we talk about string theory or this, that, the other, where as an old lady, she created a new timeline with asking for his help. Whereas without that, she lived that whole life still using the teller until the teller died and his partner died and all that stuff. Now she feels guilty about it. So she's calling, hey, can you undo what I did? Or is it like, this is already a predestined occurrence, so I have to fulfill my end of it? I think she kind of lived a life of doing this to these two and then is now trying to undo it.
Yeah, see, and I don't buy the switch. I needed more.
Yeah, I needed more too.
I needed more from the character before all of a sudden it's, I'm dying and I feel bad. Like, well, die. I don't care. I think it's another example of bad writing, and there was no reason for her to have any regrets except she got old and is about to die. That's not good enough. You know, it's like,
it's a bad telling.
You know what? I think what it is she left the planet because it was going to be wiped out by the solar flare or whatever it was, solar storm. So as far as she knew, she wiped out that species, or the species was wiped out. That's what it was. So it's not like she didn't create a new timeline. So I think her guilt is wiping out the species.
It is wiping out. Yes, the guilt is wiping out the species. I completely agree with that. My problem is it's badly written.
Yeah, I don't wait till you're on your deathbed. See what you feel guilty about.
I don't have to wait.
But I'm along with Brian thinking that it's a bad telling of Scrooge.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, okay, we want to redeem him. So the whole story of A Christmas Carol is we get to see him feeling it and going through it and getting that. And this we didn't get from her. It's just, I got my regrets. You can help me do correct one of them.
It does feel very thin writing because she's escaping, where if she was guilty, she would have shown something. Because I don't get any remorse from her from leaving in that elevator.
Well, no, but that was decades before the end of her life.
Yeah, that's my problem with it. Is that
it's terrible.
we're shown one version of this person, and then we're shown the end version of the person, where there's no in between.
I see what you're saying, and I don't disagree that it's simplified, but like I think it's a trope that, you know, on your deathbed you're going to have regrets.
Well, there could have been just more dialogue with that phone call. That's what I'm thinking. That would fix that for me. If we just, the last time we saw her was that elevator, and then the next time we saw her was the old version on the hospital deathbed.
Like, you know, what gave you the change of heart? She could have said, like, I had a daughter that died, or I had grandchildren and one of them died. Or
I don't think they changed time. I read it as they didn't change time.
Yeah,
she's on her deathbed and remembers the doctor being there. It's one of those, it never started, it never ends. So then she's like, that's the one thing I could fix. You know, if she was regretting or whatever. It's like, the doctor's there, he's a time traveler, that's what he's telling me. I have to make the phone call to start that process of him to save them.
Yeah, but I think she needs the change of heart to even do that.
Which we didn't get.
Mm-hmm.
It's inferred. Again, something that is off screen.
It's inferred, and that's what I think I brought up my issues with this this run of Moffat's. There's a lot we're told a lot of what is needed to be done for the script, as opposed to show, don't tell.
Sure.
So what if it was like an old lady going into a bank, and the teller gave her like a lollipop or something, and she was just so impressed by the act of kindness, she pulls out her future space phone and the paper and dials the doctor. Cut to credits.
Well, pulls out the future space phone and unplugs it from a USB port. Going back real quick to the teller turning the doctor's brain into soup. The 12th Doctor makes 2 references to the 4th Doctor with the scarf and the 11th Doctor with the bow tie.
Right, and it
kind of embarrassing.
Kind of embarrassing. Where I thought it would work or something like that.
Yeah,
but did he make another reference with tucked in?
Tuck in, no, that's a British expression, is tuck in your chairs and begin to eat.
Oh, okay.
And but then he also is like, after he does the bow tie was a bit embarrassing. But now I was going for minimalist.
Right.
I was going for something, but I think I wound up with magician.
Yeah.
And I never got that the planet or the bank was destroyed.
Again, worst bank ever.
And that's
safety feature.
But I thought that's why Karabraxos was fleeing, was because it was about to destroy the.
That's what I got out of it too. So that's weird. There's things that aren't clear.
I did get that out of it and thought that's stupid. I mean, I did, seriously. It's like I'm kind of with everybody, where it's like Frank, did you say you didn't think it was getting destroyed, or you couldn't believe it was getting destroyed?
I know she was taking some of the treasure, but it just seemed so illogical to build in a place that will destroy all the wealth it's supposed to protect.
Yeah.
So I thought she had to get out. I don't know how long the storm would last, so she took what she could. But it seemed like they should be able to return there.
Yeah, there should have been like one throwaway line where it's like all organic stuff is going to be destroyed, which still doesn't help because some of the stuff in the vaults may be organic. But and to me it was just like, well, this is bad writing.
We needed more information.
You just didn't think it through.
Well, if you wanted to use the solar storms as a way to like do your Deus Ex Machina or show that somebody knows the future, then I agree that you needed to then say, oh, they deal with these solar storms all the time, or this is a once in 1,000 years event, or like something to go one way or the other with it. The
solar storms escalating beyond the safety measers, something
beyond our protocols.
Maybe that's why they needed 2 episodes, possibly, because maybe this was going to be a 2 episode and they cut it all down to 1, and a lot of things got chopped.
Yeah, it's weird how there's a lot in the beginning when you don't have all the information that is intriguing, but once it then goes into from 0 to 60 at the end, I'm like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
The pacing's a little off in how you're delving out or doling out the information plot-wise.
You only went to 45 because you're missing some of these.
Yeah. Well, we didn't go to 88 when you go back in time.
Right.
Oh, that was one thing when the doctor goes, this isn't a bank robbery. It's a time travel heist. I was like, you could have said time heist, and that would have been the title of the episode.
Yeah.
Unless if time travel heist was the original title of the episode and they couldn't change it in time.
I will say that if Doctor Who is going to do a bank heist, this is with a caveat with all of its like bad writing. I think this is the way I would want it to be done. Like that the end result is rescuing these two species. And not because I guess in the middle I was worried, like when I was thinking about like what's in it for Clara and Doctor, what are they rescuing? I was a little concerned about what it was going to be, but I like that this idea of someone hiring the Doctor from the future to do this thing, and the end result is,
What is the point of Clara in there? Like, there's no reward for her, right?
Sorry. Oh, we could say that. We could say that for everything.
Stop it, Brian.
I mean, I know why she's there because she's part of the show, but there were 3 vaults written down on that last note. There wasn't a 4th vault.
Right.
So it's like, do we need her?
Well, they're both. What was the point of Clara being there?
Yeah.
It could have been a special between different companions, where they're one-off companions. She didn't need to be in this for the plot story.
Yeah.
But by having her in there, there's more interaction with the different people, and we learn more about them to round out the characters.
Because that's what we normally have the companion for, is to get exposition out or get to learn who the tertiary characters are. But it almost feels like this could have been a companion light episode.
Yes.
Okay, so we have Sai getting back his memories, and we have Sabra being able to not be like Rogue, essentially. She can now touch a human or another human. And then the Doctor went in this to save the Teller's race. So then there's no...
Well, why couldn't... I mean, be a companion to the Doctor, so their motivation will generally be the same.
Yeah, but again, I'm just overthinking this.
No, you're not.
You're not.
She's Toto. She's the dog. She's Toto.
She's not Dorothy getting home?
Oh my God, I'm the dog. I'm the tin dog.
I don't know what the reason for Clara being there. Like, I think, Eugene, you're onto something. This could have been a companion light episode. But I think the reason for the Doctor, for why she's there to join him on the heist, comes at the end of the episode when he was like, top a bank heist as a date, top that.
And I think that's where I'm coming from. Oh. She's there because she's the companion of the show. There wasn't that extra plot writing thing for her to be there. Like,
well,
I can't think of anything.
Except for the fact that the way that the Doctor is in this episode, you really did need Clara there to go to the other 2 new companions going, yeah, he's not always like this.
Yeah, and that's what I mean.
You needed that the Doctor's being very Gallifreyan in this episode. You needed a human to be able to, soften all that.
Yes, and I do understand that. That's what the companion does for the Doctor with the other characters in the show. But the reward part is the part that I'm thinking about.
No, I think...
No,
I'm glad. I think her reward is the same as the Doctor. They saved her race.
Yeah. I get that, but it's...
But I agree with Eugene. Because why did the Doctor, as architect, keep her?
Because he wanted to give her a good date. He didn't
That's
want her
what
to
the
go
only
on
thing
a
comes
date.
to. Because she was supposed to go on a date at that moment.
Yeah, and he was like,
exactly, Kelsey.
No, I'm jealous. Spend time with me. Spend time with me.
And I sort of think that that's my problem with it. That's why I'm bringing it up. Because with an older actor as the Doctor, they're still trying to force that will they, won't they that they had with Rose and her Doctor.
Okay,
I don't feel that way. You can
I'm with Josh.
You can have genuine affection for someone.
Sure, but the way that the Doctor reacts at the end with top that as a first date, that's what I don't like. And so I'm trying to find a way that doesn't make Clara's purpose for being there strictly for the Doctor's companionship.
That's all.
And I know that's what it is, but I'm just thinking it out.
I mean, that might have bugged me when I first saw it. I don't remember it. But knowing what we know now, him saying that isn't romantic. He's just like,
you can have
he's still
jealousy.
Jealous of Danny.
He is jealous of Danny, but it's not in a romantic way.
It just rubs me the wrong way this early in his run as the Doctor. And I know it gets resolved later, like you said, but I'm just remembering when I first watched it, it was just really weird.
Yeah.
Like
Also, remember there was that line in Deep Breath when he's just gotten into his costume, and he says to Clara, "I'm not your boyfriend," and she goes, "I didn't think you were," and he says, "I wasn't talking to you." He's trying to convince himself.
He's saying that wasn't entirely your fault.
Yeah, he
Not
is
my-
saying though, "Do I have feelings for you? Will they carry on?" You know, and he knows to him it should not. Still, I know it's the 5th episode, but it's still early on, and so I think they were trying to just kind of, they were still playing with, do we want this to go anywhere?
And I'm also just thinking of somebody who's just going to see this episode. That's what I do when I kind of classify episodes. I think of, what is somebody going blind? This is the only episode that they're going to see for the first time. They would sort of take that as a romantic entanglement.
So what?
I kind of want him to be the Doctor that he's going to be sooner, instead of having a little bleed over from Matt Smith. And maybe it's just knowing how it pays off, me rewatching these, that it doesn't go that direction. It's like, why plant this seed here? You could have planted a seed for something else, or paid off any number of things that, or not paid off, but clarified any number of things that we were having issues with the plot in this episode.
It's like this Doctor, not Smith's Doctor. They were flirtatious. They were fun together. Yeah. I don't think they would ever get together, but this one he's just too possessive of her from the beginning until the very end.
Well, she didn't have a boyfriend.
This companion, it just sends the, it's just ick.
Well, that's the thing. I'm not saying it's a healthy motivation. I mean, these are people. If we watched shows about people who are all well-adjusted and treated each other well,
we wouldn't have a show. Yeah, we wouldn't have a show. I get it.
But after all this time, he should have learned something.
Well, he's still figuring out who this new guy is. It's a new personality. I mean, I don't know.
And I get it. The motivation for the Doctor is he's lonely, so he does, or she wants companions. So I get that. There's just something about this that I personally think would either rub people the wrong way, or maybe there's just something I didn't like about it. That's all. I didn't mean to go on a tangent.
If it was Matt Smith delivering the same line, would it be different?
I think it would be different.
Oh, it would be different. Yeah.
Just because of who that Doctor is and how close they are in age relation, because that's what we do as humans.
Right. And that's still just our perspective of the viewpoint of the quote, like the face that Doctor put on as a young face,
Mm-hmm.
But it was still a 900-year-old being that was potentially 20-something human.
Well, I guess because when Matt Smith became the Doctor, there were a lot of new fans that were coming into the show at the time, and a lot of them that I don't want to say a lot. I want to say a good number of my female friends that I talked to that got into Doctor Who was because they were attracted to Matt Smith physically. Like, they like the way he looks. That's fine. That's what happens. And then so when Matt Smith regenerates into Peter Capaldi, maybe I want to say 50% of them were like, I think the show's done for me because I'm not attracted to Peter Capaldi as an older man. So they saw themselves as the surrogate companion. Like, Clara is the surrogate for them as a viewer because they can live the adventures with somebody that they are attracted to. And so I think for them to then drop off because you now have an older main character, it says that you're not really a fan of the show. So I don't want to have somebody come into this show with sort of those expectations that I think are bleeding over from that time.
I mean, I'll say I also dropped off from the show,
but for different reasons.
But I'm saying it's hard to untie those reasons. Just because a female fan might have said, "Oh, well, Capaldi's not as physically attractive."
Yeah.
Like, there is all the other reasons going into like the switch from Smith to Capaldi that could also have been contributing factors in why they stopped watching.
Mm-hmm.
You said, would the line be different if Smith said it? For me, how I would see him saying it is going, I'm so great. Go, see what that's like. So it's more self-centered about him. And the way that I took it from Capaldi's was as a burn and going, now try and find something as good as me.
Yeah.
And putting it on the other person.
Oh, yeah.
Where rather than just, patting yourself on the back and saying, see how good I am? Yeah, go over. But the other one just is so negative tone to it.
Yeah, and maybe that's just me personally, because I don't disagree with anybody else's. I'm just thinking of why it's not sitting well with me.
Well, even the line right before that, where he was like, "Don't rob a bank." What?
And then he's like, "What?" Yeah.
Yeah. Like that's a very kind of macho move. Like, she just said something and now you're like, but tell me the real reason why. Like because
she
doesn't
replies
without her.
You.
Yeah.
Yeah, or without her. I mean.
Yeah. So I don't know. That whole thing was a little cringe.
I didn't get cringe at all. It was okay. No, I'm still here.
Well, after he throws the switch on the TARDIS, he puts his leg up. Like you normally see in like it's usually a female actor that does that when they're kind of love stricken. They put their leg up.
Yes, he does a kick.
He does.
Yes. He flicks his it's a very dancey move.
Yeah. So again, I think thank you for letting me talk through this. I think all those things put together is why I don't like that.
Well, it is interesting that the Doctor is now taking such an active role in Clara's personal life. Like he knew that she was going on a date, but feigned that he didn't. And then all of this was like a play to just show her how cool he is. I mean, I guess we've seen that before with Rose and Mickey. Like he's told Rose not to go out with Mickey, but it wasn't.
We totally saw that, yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're putting too much mustard on a small sandwich here.
Sure. I mean, we're on a podcast, so this is where we talk.
He just wants to make sure that she doesn't leave, that this is the best time you'll ever have, period.
Yeah, I don't think we're putting too much mustard on it because it's affecting a lot of us differently. So we're all seeing it differently.
Right. Well, we can.
So I think it is one thing that what were the writers intending, and we never really get that.
It feels like Moffat likes to drop in seeds but never waters them.
I like that.
So I'm going to switch things. I think I will definitely edit this down. Yeah. I think there's some good stuff here.
There's definitely good stuff. I think this is, I don't know. I just found the last 10 minutes or however long we were just talking about this very fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when the TARDIS phone rings, Clara got his phone number to the TARDIS in the Bells of St. John from a woman in a shop. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And then now they're wondering if this caller sort of is the same person because they had the call or the phone ring in deep breath as well. The one CG shot that I don't like is at the end when they let the tellers go out into their planet. It looks super bad, that green screen behind them. So
but they're not CG. Those are practical outputs.
No, I'm talking about Clara and the Doctor as they're watching them go off. The reverse shot of that.
Oh,
it's really bad.
Recall.
Yeah, that's why.
I have to
anyway,
watch it here.
All right, so here going through the cast real quick, we have Keely Hawes playing Mrs. Delphox. She is not credited as Karabraxos. To not give that away.
Oh, good point.
She is a model over in the UK. A print model. Is that still a thing? Print model?
Oh.
And she's been doing a bunch of things, and then so when she gets asked to do certain shows, she goes to her kids and is like, I'm gonna do so and so. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. But when she goes, hey kids, I'm gonna do Doctor Who, the kids were like, do it, call him right back, do it. So I thought that was great. Jonathan Bailey plays Cy. He's Ollie Stevens in Broadchurch seasons 1 and 2.
And Bridgerton. He's the lead in Bridgerton.
I only seen the first episode.
He's the Viscount,
so he was the brother.
Not Renee.
The brother, he was
like
the brother.
He was like the Lothario, the one that he was sleeping.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pippa Bennett Warner plays Sabra. She was recently Anne Seville in See How They Run. That's in theaters now, but we'll probably.
I just watched that last night. Who is she?
I'm going to tell you. She's the secretary that the director producer is sleeping.
Oh,
with.
Anne.
Yeah.
Anne. That's so funny. I just watched that last night, or two nights ago.
So
I watched Barbarian last night. Any guys see that?
That's a good one too. Mark Ubule plays the guard, and I think that's the one that has his helmet off that shapeshifts into Sabra.
Mm-hmm.
Trevor Sellers plays Mr. Porima. I think that's the one that gets his head caved in. Junior Lanian plays one of the suited customers, and he was Private Bell in 28 Days Later with Christopher Eccleston. Ross Mullen plays the teller. Quick story about the teller. That was all practical. So Capaldi really appreciated that you could react to something as opposed to a tennis ball or a silver ball, where you have to use your imagination for the CG people to put something in place. He said that really added the emotions to the actors on set. And then there's a couple of uncredited things. I'll go through these real quick. Kevin Brickton plays the bank computer. Simon Carew plays the teller guard. Marcus Elliott plays maybe this is the one, the male brain drain customer. So I forgot who Trevor Sellers was anyway.
That's probably the one that Sabra impersonated to get in the bank.
Oh, yeah, you're probably right. CJ Guthridge plays a female banker. James Kermack plays a guard, and Clem So plays the Karabraxos bank teller. So, Time Heist. Who is this episode good for? Or more specifically, this episode is good for who? A new viewer, a casual viewer, a fan of the show, or a diehard?
All right. I think I'm going to classify this for a casual viewer because I don't think I would use this show to introduce Doctor Who to somebody. But I do think it is a very fun episode in these first round of Capaldi's run that, I appreciated just for the pacing and the speed and the, having a story that even though there are holes in it, like a heist story is a very simple, like A leads to B leads to C kind of thing that is you can follow it, but it still has some twists and some unexpected turns. So casual viewer for me.
I think casual too, the same reasons. I think it's fun enough for someone who just kind of watches the show, and it doesn't have enough problems where like, no, if you're not familiar with the show, don't watch this. It's just, it's a little dark, but I think I started going into it like, am I going to enjoy this episode? And I ended up enjoying it.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with both of you. I'm going to stay casual. I think if you were just flipping through and you knew the show, but you weren't really like watching this particular season in chronological order, you would enjoy this episode because it's almost like a bottle episode. It's not really tied to any kind of overarching story plot, season arc or anything. And so I think it's best for casual. It's best for if you're a casual, you're flipping through, you're going to enjoy this episode.
It's almost better out of order. It's just an idea of who these people are. So I would say casual. I'm
going to say casual as well. I just for the Doctor alone, I love the Doctor in this. I love it when he gets darker, and he's a little darker in this one. But he's not. I still think he's very practical. I don't think he's cruel. So like when I was sitting down to take notes for this one, I was thinking, I don't like the plot, I don't like the script, but I want to write down every quote the Doctor says because I think they're brilliant. So I'm going to say casual. You don't have to be a fan because it is kind of a bottle episode, and it's not good, but great dialogue. It's like a bad episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It's a bad episode, but you've got great dialogue no matter what.
Like even bad pizza, it's still pizza.
Yeah.
About you like the Doctor in this Doctor, and also I kind of starting to feel like Capaldi is actually finding this Doctor faster than the scripts are. I kind of feel like, knowing where he's kind of going to end up with it, I'm starting to feel, this is this Doctor, but we're still talking about slippery stuff with the stories. So I feel like he's starting to really hone in on what he's going to be.
Yeah. That's good. I like it.
So for me, I'm torn because I'm like, there's some stuff that is good for new, but being a fan, going back and watching this, I enjoyed it more than I did the initial time I watched it.
Me too.
Yeah, I was surprised. So I think I'm going to go in the middle because of that reaction. I'll go with a casual. And I think that is the first time all of us have agreed on one category in a while.
I know. It's like we did it.
I think on first watching this season, I think this season was just so different from what we were used to. We're like, more Doctor Who episodes. What is this? It was just, we were not ready for the difference. And now that we're, we know what the difference was, we can go back and enjoy it at a whole other level.
Well, I think what happens for me is that every time there is a new doctor, it's usually a new showrunner. So then you get that clean break. And maybe sometimes the companion bleeds over. Not, I should stop saying that. The companion crosses over for like a half a season or but very soon something happens where there is a new companion, and this is the doctor in this era, where this one it just felt like Clara overstayed her welcome.
The other thing that I think happens a lot too is you go through a doctor's era. Okay, this is the entirety of the 12th Doctor's reign. I know what to expect now.
Yes, absolutely.
They didn't completely fly off the deep end, but there's enough good episodes that I can watch good episodes and never have to worry about the bad ones again. And there's never going to be any more bad ones. I don't have to worry about that anymore.
It feels like if they wanted to do such a not dramatic, but a different shift in the Doctor's personality, it should have been done with a different showrunner. Like it just feels like, I think we've mentioned this even in our other episodes, that it feels like Matt Smith dialogue written, but it's coming out of Peter Capaldi's mouth. I think that's the problem I'm having with it.
That was part of why I stopped watching or stopped looking as hard to find where I could watch Doctor Who during the Capaldi era. One of the factors anyways. Like I don't know if we've gotten to that episode yet, but there's definitely, like, I remember really thinking, wow, they put words that I could see Matt Smith saying or hear Matt Smith saying, but Capaldi just didn't have that same delivery. Not sure if we've passed it yet, but yeah. But it is better now knowing that there is something else coming. I'm gonna bear through.
Yeah. So that wraps up Time Heist. Thanks for listening. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time when the future becomes the present.
You just listened to an episode of Who Knew?
Our wonderful theme music is by Michael Grady.
Find him on Facebook at The Universe Explodes.
Additional music is by Damiel Paggio.
All our episodes are engineered by Auburn, and you can find him at auburnbinkley.com.
You can also find this show in several places.
Follow us on Twitter at Who Knew Podcast.
Subscribe, review, and listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Stitcher.
Or on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Who Knew Podcast.
All our episodes are on whoknewpodcast.com.
Visit our Facebook page.
Please leave comments, reviews, and click like to support Who Knew Podcast.
To listen to our show on your Amazon Echo device, subscribe to us on Amazon Music,
and then ask your Amazon device to play your podcast subscriptions.
This podcast is inspired by Doctor Who,
the longest-running sci-fi show in history,
and especially the revival spearheaded by Russell T. Davis.
Thanks to Russell, Sidney Newman,
Verity Lambert, Ron Grainer,
and all those involved in the adventures of our favorite Time Lord.
Your work continues to inspire and entertain.
Oh, hey, look, it says I'm Frank.
Hi, Frank.
Well, you do speak your mind up frontly.
That's a double entendre, isn't it? It's like, that's a snap, and then it's also just the name of the word. Okay.
Yeah. Oh no, it was that was wordplay. That wasn't.
I know. I love it.
Commentary.
and to be honest, I might cut all this out. I think.
No, I think it's interesting.